My mother had just had a new baby, and I came home that Sunday, and I remember coming home from church, and I would always run to the answer machine. When I pressed the button, I remember my auntie coming on and saying, "Your sister, Mariah, died." And I remember, I just remember being so confused. Like, what do you mean she died? Like, I just seen her. My mother became more and more lost in her grief, and my father was in and out of jail and doing his own thing, and that's when my grandparents decided, we're just gonna go ahead and get full custody of you and adopt you. Growing up with my grandparents was, to me, incredible because my grandmother was very hands-on, very affectionate, and very nurturing. My grandfather was, to me, I called him Iron Man because he went above and beyond for my grandmother, above and beyond for our household. He was the one that, told me, you need to learn how to take care of yourself because when me and your grandmother die, you're gonna have to learn how to handle this on your own. My grandfather would go and visit his mother in Louisiana every summer. That's when we discovered that he had 2 types of cancers. And that's when it became real to me that everything that he was teaching me was for this purpose. When I graduated, I decided I couldn't stay and watch him die. But I remember the last time that I seen him, he was so angry at us for sending him to this rehab place, not knowing it was to help him, but he felt like we were sending him away. When my grandmother and I walked in, he told us to get out, and he couldn't really speak. All he could say was, "Get out, get out." And my feelings was so hurt because I didn't want him to think that I had pushed him away. But that's how he felt. And I remember my grandmother pulling me to the side and telling me that before you leave, you need to have a conversation with him. So I had the conversation with him the day before I left, and I asked him, "Did you forgive me for leaving and going to college?" And he looked at me and said, "Yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm not mad at you." And that was the first time he said, I'm sorry, and the first time that I could remember him saying that I love you. And like 2 weeks after that, he passed away. The only consistent man that I had in my life is now leaving. I was angry. That began to lead me to wanting to party all the time, and I had broken focus in school. I drove myself into working, so I became a workaholic. I had 3 jobs while I was in college. Everything to keep me distracted from having to have a relationship with God. I was running. I got lost in all of that because my happiness now became invested in people and things. So when those people began to leave, all of that started to come out, and now I'm by myself, like, here we go again. I'm here alone again. And that's when God forced me to really seek after him. And so when I dropped to my knees and asked God to give me the strength, I felt this power that literally came over me of comfort. I felt peace for the first time. So at that moment when I had this peace to come over me, I decided that I was going to move back to Kansas City. So I went back to my stomping ground, which was EC. I went to church and I felt at home, and it felt amazing to be there. That's when my husband, Justin, and I began to build our friendship. I could see myself being with him for the rest of my life because this man that literally stood as tall as my grandfather looked like my grandfather was coming into my life and filling my heart with what I felt like was missing when I lost my grandfather. God is opening my eyes to so many different things. And when he gave me the vision of having my own business, I started to take the steps to go to hair school. And I'm in school working on a client, and my phone is ringing. There's a stranger on the end of the phone like, "You need to get to KU Medical Center right now because your brother was just shot." And I was so shocked, and tears were just rolling. I just couldn't believe this is happening all over again. I didn't want to go back to that dark place of being broken again and being angry with God at what has happened. I knew that if I got to my car, I would make it because I could pray. I could pray my way to where I needed to be. I went to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, my dad came out sobbing, and he's like, ain't nothing they can do, And I said, what does that mean? And he said, he's gone. I remember just feeling like the wind was knocked out of me. But on the flip side of that, I felt such a peace about this loss, because I felt like no matter what is thrown my way, no matter what the enemy tries to bring in my life, I know that God is never going to leave me. And I did not know that before. Before, I felt abandoned. I felt forgotten. I felt that he had left me. But in reality, it wasn't him that left, it was me. I left the relationship. So now, as an adult and going through all this loss and grief, I know for sure that no matter what, I'm going to overcome it, because I know that God is going to always be there for me. So I know the love of God for myself.